I thought I was being forthright, but I was just being reckless. Now I'm sitting here in the aftermath, wondering if I just pushed away the best man I'll ever find. My name is Gabriella. I'm 33, and what started as a seemingly harmless comment has unraveled my entire relationship. I never imagined a single argument could spiral into this void of regret. But here we are. It began when I landed a position at a prestigious digital marketing agency 3 months ago. After years of unstable employment and career frustration, I finally secured a role that not only validated my skills, but came with a salary that eclipsed my husband Marcus's income. And not by a small margin, I'm talking significantly more. The kind of more that meant I could walk into boutiques without checking price tags. The type of more where I could order the expensive wine without wincing. The sort of more that made me feel, for the first time in my adult life, financially powerful. Marcus is 36, steady and reliable to a fault. He's been working at the same architectural firm for 9 years, slowly climbing the ranks through consistency rather than flashy moves. While I bounced between jobs, struggled through freelance dry spells, and battled imposter syndrome, he was the foundation that kept our household afloat. He paid the mortgage, covered the utilities, handled the car payments, and never once made me feel lesser for contributing less. But something shifted in me when those first few paychecks hit my account. I'd worked hard for this, late nights studying UX design, countless portfolio revisions, networking events where I felt completely out of place. I'd earned this success, and I wanted to enjoy it. Maybe I wanted to flaunt it a little too. The first fracture appeared over a leather tote bag. Not some extravagant designer piece, but a beautiful handcrafted bag that cost $450. When I brought it home, instead of the admiration I expected, Marcus glanced up from his blueprint sketches with a slight furrow in his brow. "How much did that set you back?" he asked, his tone carefully neutral. That question, something about the phrasing, about the implicit judgment I perceived, made my spine stiffen. It felt patronizing, as though I needed his approval for my purchases, as though I were still the financially insecure woman who had to consult him before buying anything beyond groceries. "Don't worry about it," I replied, my voice cooler than intended. "I paid for it with my money." His expression shifted subtly, not anger, but something more complex. His mouth tightened at the corners. His eyes narrowed slightly, the way they always did when he was processing something painful, but trying not to show it. "Your money?" he repeated slowly. "I thought we agreed finances were joint. You do realize I'm still covering all our fixed expenses, right?" That should have been my cue to backpedal, to acknowledge the years he'd carried us financially without complaint. Instead, I delivered the line that would crack the foundation of our marriage. "Well, maybe if you made more money, I wouldn't have to spend mine." The words hung in the air between us, sharp and irretrievable. I even accompanied them with a small dismissive laugh, as if I'd made a clever observation rather than stab the man who'd supported me through years of career uncertainty. I said this to a man who wakes up at 5 a.m. to prepare for early client meetings. A man who spent weekends helping me build my portfolio website instead of pursuing his own hobbies. A man who took on extra drafting projects when my freelance work dried up, never once suggesting I wasn't pulling my weight. His reaction wasn't what I expected. There was no shouting, no defensive counterattack. Instead, he simply looked at me for a long moment, as if seeing me clearly for the first time, then nodded slowly. "All right, Gabriella, I see where we stand now." He walked away, disappearing into his home office, closing the door with a quiet click that somehow felt more final than any slam could have. Rather than feeling remorseful, I felt indignant. What, he couldn't handle a little criticism? Was his ego so fragile that he needed to retreat rather than acknowledge I was finally successful too? I scrolled through Instagram on the couch, liking posts from my new colleagues, waiting for him to emerge and continue the discussion. He never did. The next morning, I woke to an empty bed. Marcus had already left for work, earlier than usual. On the refrigerator was a yellow sticky note. taking $500 from savings for the plumbing repair. Just letting you know, since apparently I'm the only one contributing to our joint future. I crumpled the note, irritation flaring, so petty, so small. And yet, the words left a mark, precisely because they contained a truth I wasn't ready to confront. The following week became a series of passive-aggressive exchanges. When I ordered takeout from an upscale sushi place, he asked with exaggerated politeness, "Is that coming from your personal account or our shared resources?" When I reached for the premium coffee beans at the grocery store, he pointedly placed the store brand in the cart instead. "It's just a $4 difference," I protested. "Well, with your impressive new salary, perhaps you should cover the premium options," he replied, his voice pleasant but eyes cold. It became unbearable. I texted my friend Zoe. "Marcus is being completely ridiculous. I think he's jealous of my success." I expected solidarity, a string of supportive emojis and validation. Instead, she replied, "Are you sure you're not being a bit insensitive? He supported you for years, V. Maybe acknowledge that." I started typing a defensive paragraph, fingers flying across the screen, but stopped mid-sentence. Deep in the recesses of my mind, a small voice whispered that she might be right. I deleted the draft, but couldn't bring myself to admit she had a point. Then came the conversation that changed everything. We were driving home from his parents' house, the car filled with that particular silence that isn't peaceful but loaded with unspoken grievances. Marcus kept his eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2, the perfect picture of composure except for the muscle twitching in his jaw. "Do you think I'm holding you back, Vanessa?" he asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. I should have recognized its importance, the vulnerability it took for him to ask it. Instead, I shrugged, gazing out the window at the passing streetlights. "I mean, I didn't say that exactly," I replied, my tone dismissive. "But I guess you kind of are." The words escaped without calculation, casual cruelty delivered without even looking at him to gauge the impact. For the remainder of the 20-minute drive, he said nothing, not a word. Just silence so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. That night, he packed a duffel bag. I watched from the bedroom doorway, arms crossed, still somehow believing this was a temporary tantrum, a masculine display of wounded pride that would resolve itself once he calmed down. "Where do you think you're going?" I asked, aiming for nonchalance but hearing the edge of uncertainty in my voice. "Somewhere I'm not holding you back," he replied, zipping the bag with finality and meeting my eyes directly. I'd never seen him look at me that way before, like I was a stranger he was trying to place, someone vaguely familiar but ultimately unimportant. Then he left, just walked out, car keys in hand, without a backward glance. I didn't call after him. I didn't text. My pride whispered that he'd return on his own, that this dramatic exit was just that, drama. Marcus wasn't one for theatrics. He was steady, predictable. He would come back. He always did. But as days passed with no communication, the bravado began to crack. Initially, I maintained my stubborn stance. I binged Netflix shows we'd been saving to watch together. I played empowerment playlists while taking luxurious baths. I told Zoe, he'll be back. He's just being dramatic. By the third day, doubt crept in. I checked his location on Find My Friends, a feature we'd set up years ago for practicality. The map showed nothing. He'd turned off location sharing. That small act sent a chill through me. In all our years together, through arguments and reconciliations, he'd never disconnected that digital tether. On day 4, I called his brother Alex. "Hey Al, have you heard from Marcus?" I tried to sound casual, as if I were simply checking in. A pause stretched across the line. "He's okay, Vanessa." "What does that mean? Where is he?" "It means he's okay. He'll reach out when he's ready." The call ended with me more unsettled than before. Alex's tone wasn't hostile, but it had a protective quality that made me feel like an outsider, someone potentially harmful to his brother. By day 5, my appetite had vanished. Food tasted like nothing, and my stomach remained in a constant state of tension. I found myself walking through our apartment, touching Marcus's things. His favorite coffee mug, the worn paperback on his nightstand, the sweater he'd draped over his office chair, as if these objects might conjure him back. I drafted text messages I never sent. "This is ridiculous. Come home so we can talk. Are you seriously going to throw away 8 years over one comment? I miss you." I deleted them all, my pride still battling my growing fear. Then, on the morning of day 6, everything collapsed. I woke to a notification from our joint bank account. Still groggy from another night of fitful sleep, I opened the email, expecting some routine update. What I saw jolted me fully awake. Account transfer complete. $17,500 transferred to new account ending in *426. My hands trembled as I logged into the banking app. There it was, in stark digital certainty. Our savings account, which once held nearly $20,000, now contained just $2,187.14. This wasn't a cooling-off period anymore. This was Marcus systematically disentangling his life from mine. I called immediately, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The phone rang twice before going to voicemail. I called again, same result. I texted, "You took our savings? Are you serious right now?" The message showed as delivered, then read, "No reply." That's when panic truly set in. This wasn't like Marcus, calculated, yes, methodical, always, but never vindictive. For him to withdraw funds without discussion meant something fundamental had shifted. The man who had always considered us a unit, who consulted me on every financial decision, was now acting independently, without me. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to his sister Imani's house. I knew if he wasn't staying with Alex, Imani was the next logical place. She'd always been protective of her younger brother, had warned him years ago that I seemed more interested in what Marcus provided than who he was. I dismissed her assessment as jealousy. When I pulled into her driveway and saw Marcus's silver Audi parked there, a strange mixture of relief and dread washed over me. I'd found him, but what would I say? What could I say? I rang the doorbell repeatedly, each chime more insistent than the last.